They raised their eyes to the sky and dreamed of touching the clouds. United by a single language, they decided to build a colossal tower, a symbol of human power and glory, an affront to the Creator himself. But what began as the greatest demonstration of cooperation turned into the most bitter lesson of all. The reminder that without humility, even the greatest work collapses. Today, you will discover how the Tower of Babel was built and why it became the ultimate monument to the pride that crumbled before God. When the waters finally receded, the earth sighed in relief, revealing soils watered by universal rain. Noah's families dispersed through the valleys and mountains, sowing what had survived the flood. But on the plain of Shinar, one group decided to remain united. Their desolation turned into opportunity, and faith turned into ambition. In that fertile land, clay became a precious resource. Kilns were built to mold strong bricks, and bitumen of unknown origin sealed each joint with extraordinary impermeability. Robust walls, temples, and bases emerged that defied the imagination of those who still remembered the giant waves. The search for collective safety led to the development of ingenious techniques. Simple ramps and improvised pulleys lifted unimaginable loads. Teams of workers, organized in shifts, worked without ceasing, motivated by the promise of never being scattered among the nations. Each brick laid was a manifesto. Here we will remain, united, invincible. While the rest of humanity obeyed the divine command and spread to the four corners of the earth, those inhabitants of Shinar abandoned humility in favor of a tower that wanted to touch the sky and would mark the beginning of the greatest undertaking of arrogance ever seen. The leadership of this bold rebellion movement was attributed to Nimrod, the grandson of Ham, son of Noah. Nimrod was no ordinary man. He became known as a mighty hunter before the Lord, but also as an ambitious builder of kingdoms. It was he who founded the first great cities of the ancient world, Babel, Erech, Akkad, and Calneh, laying the foundations of what would become humanity's first empire after the flood. With a bold vision and a magnetic personality, Nimrod easily gained followers. His natural charisma made him almost a mythical figure. The crowds followed him not only out of fear, but because they believed in his promise of security, power, and glory. In a world still traumatized by the flood, Nimrod offered an enticing alternative to dependence on God, a self-sufficient kingdom with a strong ruler, protected by walls and guided by human technology. He turned collective fear into fuel for his ambition. "What if another flood comes?" he would say. "We need to be prepared. We need to build high, higher than the waters could ever reach." And so the people followed him. Under his leadership, Babel ceased to be just a city. It became a symbol of human arrogance, of the desire to equal the Creator. Nimrod's speeches set hearts ablaze. He spoke of a future where man would no longer need divine protection, where human intelligence and strength would reign supreme. His goal was clear: to centralize power, control people, and above all, prove that humanity could live without God. The linguistic unity of that generation was the perfect breeding ground for this movement. Everyone understood each other. Everyone shared the same culture, the same goals. And with this cohesion, they began to build the greatest architectural project ever dreamed of, a tower whose top would touch the heavens. Babel became a spectacle. Thousands of men and women worked day and night under the burning sky. Lines stretched long, carrying bricks, wood, bitumen. Children grew up learning the art of building, and entire families dedicated themselves to a single purpose: to build the tower that would make them eternal. The kilns never went out. The fire consumed logs incessantly, transforming clay into strong blocks. Each brick was molded with precision, and many were marked with the names of their creators as a legacy for future generations. Spiral ramps surrounded the tower, winding around the structure as if to embrace the heavens. Pulleys screeched, hoisting stones and tools. At the top, clouds passed so close that the workers said they could touch them. From up there, the world seemed small and God distant. Sacrifices began to be offered at the top. Someone claimed to have received a vision. When the tower was finished, no flood would be able to reach them. Others believed that they could build a divine dwelling, a new Eden made by the hands of men. It was more than engineering. It was corrupt theology. Nimrod visited the construction site often. He would climb to the highest point and speak eloquently. "We are shaping eternity. Our name will be remembered forever. There will be no more death, fear, punishment. This tower is our salvation." Over time, the spirit of worship was replaced by the cult of self-effort. Songs sung during the work extolled the tower, the leader, the human achievement. It was as if the presence of God had been forgotten. There, in that tower, man tried to be greater than his creator.
The sky remained silent for a long time. But God, who sees all, watched intently. And then he came down, not out of necessity, but out of mercy. The Bible says, "The Lord came down to see the city and the tower that the sons of men were building." At that moment, God's gaze pierced human pride. God saw not just a building, but a corrupt collective heart. And he said, "Behold, the people are one, and they have all one language, and this is what they have begun to do. Now nothing will be restrained from them which they have devised." But God did not destroy with fire. He used something even more profound: language. A subtle, almost invisible but powerful confusion. In an instant, words became strange, commands were misinterpreted, simple requests became enigmas, communication, once perfect, became a tangle of noise and misunderstandings. Teams disintegrated. Supervisors shouted orders that no one else understood. Feuds arose. Fear grew. Some believed they were being cursed. Others blamed Nimrod. But the chaos was universal. Men tried to reorganize, study, learn the new sounds, but it was too late. The gift of unity had been taken away. The tower, so tall, so dreamed of, was now a place of frustration. The same bricks that once united now represented human failure before the divine. The confusion of languages led to total fragmentation. The workers, confused and insecure, began to gather in small groups with those who could still understand. Cooperation disappeared, replaced by distrust. Soon, these groups decided to abandon the tower. Each one followed a different path, taking with them their new language, their customs, their fears, and the city that dreamed of being eternal became a landmark of human failure. The tower, abandoned, stood there like an unended giant. The rains washed its surface. Time erased the names engraved on the bricks, and Babel, which means confusion, became an eternal reminder of what happens when man tries to take the place of God. It was from this separation that nations were born. People spread across the continents, taking with them stories, languages, hopes. And even far from each other, everyone carried in their ancestral memory the echo of that tower that almost touched the sky. Divine intervention was not punishment, but a redirection. God forced humanity to obey the original plan, to fill the earth. The diversity of languages and cultures became paradoxically a blessing in disguise, for shared pride gave way to plurality that would one day be reunited again, but not by human works, but by the Spirit.
The Tower of Babel is not just an ancient story. It is a profound reflection of what we are experiencing today. Just as back then, we still seek to build our own kingdoms, our towers of power, prestige, and control. Instead of bricks, we use technology. Instead of tar, we use data. And, just as back then, we often remain disconnected from God, trying to reach heaven with our own strength. Today, our Babel projects take different forms. Social networks that feed the ego, systems that replace faith with algorithms, ideologies that promise salvation without the Creator. We connect more through screens than through hearts. We pride ourselves on our ability to create, but we forget who gave us that ability. The diversity of languages, cultures, and opinions should be a gift. Instead, it has been used as a source of conflict, division, and intolerance. The confusion that arose at Babel still echoes in our political, religious, and social discussions. Each person builds his own tower of truth, his own version of reality, forgetting that true unity is possible only in God. At the same time, the world cries out for meaning. Deep down, we are all still searching for something to fill the void left when we left God behind. And ironically, the higher we try to climb on our own, the further away from Him we seem to be. But there is hope. The same mercy that descended at Babel is still available today. God has not abandoned humanity. He has simply redirected us. And through Christ, He has offered a new path to unity, not based on human achievements, but on grace. The story of the Tower of Babel teaches us that true greatness is not found in building monuments, but in obeying God's purpose. What seemed like a punishment was in fact a loving intervention. God confused the language of men to save them from themselves. He prevented pride from becoming total destruction. Today, we live in a world that is equally tempted to trust only in science, power, and intelligence. But God continues to call. He does not want to limit us, but to free us. He wants to unite us again, not through a tower, but through a spirit. What about you? In which tower have you invested your time, your gifts, your faith? Are you trying to climb it with your own strength, or have you walked alongside God? If this story touched your heart, I invite you to act now. Like this video. Comment below, I choose to build with God. Share this message with someone who also needs to hear it. And of course, subscribe to the Sacred Journey channel and activate the bell so you don't miss the next episodes. Remember, this is not just a story about the past. It is a warning for the present and a direction for the future. May we learn from Babel to be humble, dependent, and united in God. Until the next chapter of our sacred journey.